Welcome to Settling's Not an Option. I'm Adam Nebbs and I'm here with my co-host Amanda Stanhope. This show is for anyone out there who feels like they've settled for an unfulfilling life. Whether you've settled in a relationship, the work that you do, or how you feel about yourself, we're here to tell you that settling's not an option. If you're liking the show, please follow us on Spotify or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any feedback about the show or want a recommended topic, you can email us at cheers-to-not-settling@gmail.com. Finally, to conclude the plug, if you feel so inclined, you can donate to us on Coffee, where we are aiming to buy some new audio equipment. My actual big lamp that I had, which was like providing better lighting, that's like the bulb's blown, so that's no good. Right?
Great.
So yeah, guys, you can see I'm struggling. I can't even afford like $3.
So we need to get Adam some lighting too.
Yeah, so just even $3, I think, is what it costs from Bunnings, which is the big warehouse here. Anyways, so hello Amanda, how are you?
Great. How are you, Adam?
I'm very good. So what do you think of wellness? Like what's your understanding of wellness?
So first, I'll back up a second and just say we're kind of going off of the episode that we recorded 2 weeks ago with Lydia, and we talked about wellness. So that kind of led to us. We thought we'd spin that off and talk about wellness on our own a little bit here. And it's interesting because I think we both have different ideas of what wellness is. So We'll hash this out and see where it goes. But because when I think of wellness, what automatically comes to my mind is physical wellness, like physical fitness. So whether that be exercise, diet, sleep, and those are the main things. And that's how I've always thought of wellness. But then I started, and I thought of it as more of a physical thing, outside appearance or just your body itself, and keeping that well. But then I wrote a post for the expectation gaps, plug number 1, and about taking care of yourself, and learned along the way, which we'll talk about more later, that wellness really has a lot more to do with your brain, and it's really a lot more important to exercise and watch your diet and watch your sleep habits for your brain health. And it's much more important, maybe I shouldn't say more important, but just as important to take care of your brain as the rest of your body. So my thought about wellness now tends to go more toward taking care of my mind and body. So, and what do you think of when you think of wellness?
I think it's, I totally agree. I think that was one of the first things that I asked you about, or that you mentioned to me when I was talking about settling.
Well, one of the first things I pushed down your throat and said, here, you need to read this. It's probably what you meant to say, but you didn't want to be impolite.
Well, it was, even if you did kind of push it on me, it was a really good article, I think, because you do need to look after yourself when you're not settling. But, I read an article recently on wellbeing, and it was like a 20-page article, typical nerd, talking about how to define wellbeing. Sure. And like we've just made it so hard to actually know what well-being is. But for me, I'd look at it as being 3 things. Okay. One of them you've already spoken about. So vitality, looking after your physical health and your mental health. I'd look at connections, what's your social relationships like? And also contribution, do you feel like, in the work you do or things outside of work, are you contributing? And I heard somebody talk about those 3 things recently and how they're like 3 buckets, and you've got to constantly keep those buckets full. So when I start to feel a bit depleted now, I think like which one of these buckets is low, and it's usually vitality because I'm like, not sleeping well, or maybe my diet's not great or something like that. And then I'm like, I need to look after that. So, but it's a really tricky one, I think. There's so many components to it, really. Yeah.
Well, I think we made it more complicated than it needs to be. Well, I shouldn't say that. It is complicated. There's no way around it because our bodies are complicated and our minds are definitely complicated. But I think we often strive for perfection too much when we're trying to be well. And that's what I think stops a lot of people their tracks, and they never really get any traction in creating a wellness routine. They never get anywhere because they're trying to reach some level of perfection that they're never going to get to.
Yes.
And,
Well, that's it. I think it's, we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be like, I have to do all of these things today to be well. And I actually think it makes you less well. Like if I stress myself out and say like, I didn't go for a walk today, or I didn't eat like a healthy breakfast today, or whatever, I'm instantly like, oh, I'm a failure. Like I didn't do all the things. But it's like, well, as long as you did a couple of things on your list and you're feeling pretty good, well, all right, you're going okay. It's all right.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, and another part to add to that too is that I feel like we get these messages thrown at us all the time of, you do this workout and all of a sudden you're going to have 6-pack abs and you're going to be in a string bikini on the beach or something. And, it's like you think that there's this perfect exercise routine out there that's just going to work for you and give you everything that you want. And it's just not the case at all. And I've found too, and so I think that stops a lot of people too, because they're looking for the perfect option or the perfect solution, whether it be a diet plan. Well, diet plans are even worse. I mean, there are so many diet plans out there. But the thing is, what I've found, so I have been regularly exercising, and I wouldn't say dieting, but being very conscious of what I'm eating for, well, about over 20 years now.
Wow.
And over that time, I have changed. I mean, my diet plan, my exercise plan, whatever you want to call it, those things have changed so many times over that period of time because your lifestyle changes, your body changes, all these things. And so you're never going to find something perfect that you're going to stick with your whole life. You have to be flexible and know when it's time to try something different.
Yeah.
Too. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to recognize or fail to be told. Because we're not told that when all these people are trying to sell us an exercise plan or a diet plan or whatever.
I think that's a good point. It is just probably adjusting because life's never going to be the same. You could have different work demands or family demands or other things pop up, and it just makes it unfeasible to go for an hour-long jog or something in the morning. So, maybe it's almost like having a toolkit or something, like just a bunch of things that you could use, and you go, all right, well, I feel like this is the most fitting thing for today, or for this stage of my life or whatever. But yeah, that's the thing as well, like with exercise and that, I think that many times I've got gym memberships and I've not gone to the gym, and so I just start burning cash and not using it. And it's because I don't know, it's almost probably, it's really hard to get motivated sometimes. Whereas I find for me, I like going out in nature, like going for a nice bushwalk or just walking around the neighborhood now that it's, nice and warm over here. And that's good for me. So, I think society's as you said, you have to get a 6-pack and go to the gym and be all ripped and stuff. But it's well, it doesn't mean you're going to be well if you've got abs.
Exactly. Well, and just because you look good on the outside too doesn't necessarily mean that you are healthy on the inside.
Yeah.
What are you doing to yourself to look like that? If you're starving yourself, or you're using some extreme diet plan or whatever, or even an extreme exercise routine, or if you're not getting the right sleep, because sleep is such an important part of it too. It's okay, so you look great, but are you really healthy? And because I think you can look, bigger, maybe you look unhealthy, but you can be a lot healthier than someone who looks great sometimes.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
I saw Henry Cavill getting interviewed the other day, and in the show that he did, The Witcher, he's ripped as anything, really big fella.
Yeah.
And they asked him, what did you have to do to kind of get that physique? And it's the same, I think, with Hugh Jackman when he was doing the Wolverine movies. and they just like do these weird water diets and like starve themselves and
I
do all
know,
these
it's
crazy
insane.
things. And yeah, they look awesome. Like you think, geez, like how do I look like that? But you know, they say themselves like it's not a sustainable thing to do that.
Yeah.
And it must be really bad for your body. Like so,
Yeah, it can't be
you know,
good.
so we shouldn't trust what we see. These images online of like beautiful people or whatever. It's like it's not real. Like they're not necessarily well. They probably go, God, I'm really hungry and I want to eat a cheeseburger or something. Like,
Right. Exactly. No, I know exactly what you mean. But gosh, that just reminded me of something. Oh, well, I was just gonna say too, as far as you know, defining the whole reason you're trying to be well to begin with is huge.
yeah.
Because I've had to do that with myself the past couple years because I don't know if I've ever actually given my age, but I'm 43. And
Oh, okay.
you know, the body's just
Good
not
for
what
43. Not that that matters, but
no, I don't know. I mean, you can figure that out based on what we've talked about, but I don't think I've ever said it. But you know, and my body just isn't what it used to be. And it's not, and I don't even care for it to be anymore. Like, you know, it honestly, yes, I used to want to look good in bathing suit, or I used to want to look good in my clothes, and that was what made me want to work out. But
yeah.
now it's more like, okay, I want to go for bike rides with my family. I want to go hiking with my family and not get tired out from it. And I want to be able to just generally do things with my family and not be worn out by it. And so that's what drives me now. So
Yeah,
it's,
that's great.
yeah, so it was, I mean, yeah, I will admit there's still times that, you know, I'm like, okay, yeah, I would like to lose a little bit more so I could wear the bathing suit that I want to wear. But really, but no, really, that's when I'm working out and trying to find my motivation to do that. That's not what I'm thinking about anymore because that just doesn't work for me. It's such a short-term thing. Like you have to find a long-term reason to do it
Yeah.
to stay with it for the long haul.
I think, yeah, that's interesting. Like, you know, because I was for a while there, I was all caught up in, you know, wanting to bulk up and, you know, and stuff like that. But now I think, you know, especially these days, like, I don't know, my brain's not very nice to me on a regular basis. So I have to keep it in a really good, clear place so that I
Right.
can navigate some really difficult thoughts on a daily basis. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's a big thing for wellness for me is like, if I, you know, have a big night out on the booze, you know, that'll probably have a flow on effect over the
Sorry, I
weekend.
just love that phrase. Out
Just
on the
such
booze.
an Aussie thing, like let's go out on the booze. But you know, it'll smash me for the whole weekend, and I can
Right.
guarantee that my thoughts are in a really bad space, you know, and take me to some really dark places that I don't want to go to. But you know, like I have to keep my brain in a really good place, you know, and that comes down to, you know, like I take supplements in the morning, you know, like having a really healthy breakfast,
Yep.
drinking lots of water, meditating, getting outside. So, you know, those things are like non-negotiables for me because it keeps my brain sharp. And even after all of that, sometimes I'm still having a rough time of it.
Oh,
But like
sure.
it reduces the likelihood of me being in a really bad place that, you know, I don't want to be in. So yeah, there's lots of different motivations, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I mean, I'm glad you brought that up about keeping your head in a good place, or however you said it. That's not the right way to say it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
um, that, you know, because obviously we're encouraging people to not settle. And I think when you decide that you're not going to settle anymore, that's a huge decision. It's going to be stressful somewhat. I mean, depending on how you define stressful, but it's going to create a lot of emotions in you that maybe you haven't had before. And, you know, you're really going to, as you are learning more about yourself, it's a very energy intensive exercise and it burns a lot
Mm.
more energy than you would realize. And so you're not going to make it very far in your journey to not settle if you're not taking care of your body. To me, it almost has to come first. I mean, they need to go hand in hand, but if you're not taking care of your body, you're just not going to have the resources, like you just said, you're not going to have the resources that you need to have your brain function properly and help you along the journey.
And I think, if we think about like in the workplace, like even what we used to do. So like, were you working really stupidly long hours when you were a chartered accountant?
Yeah. So it was standard. It was expected that you work 60 hours a week during tax season.
Wow.
And I would say I stuck to that. Like, that was my boundary. I did go over 60 sometimes, but whatever. For the most part, I stuck to that 60 hours. And I was one of the ones who probably worked in the last office I was at. I worked less than everybody else. So there were people who were working 90 hours a week. And I'm, consistently for 3 months.
Yeah.
So yes, for sure. And during those times, it was definitely important too I would bring, I would have this huge bag, of all this food I would bring with me. So I have my snacks. Cause that's one thing I do is, and I've done it for years, is I eat 3 moderately sized meals and I have 3 snacks during the day. And so, when I'm going to be at work for 12 hours a day, that's a lot of food. I had to take along every day. But the main thing
what kind of snacks, were they healthy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So here's another weird thing that I do. I'm kind of taking over the conversation here, but
No, this is interesting.
I've been doing this for a long time. But so another weird thing that I do that works for me is I eat the exact same thing every day, except for dinner. My dinner isn't the same every day. But
how long for have you been doing this?
Oh, years. I mean, that I've eaten the exact same thing every day, it's probably been, oh gosh, 5-6 years.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I mean, it'll switch up a little bit. But for example, in the morning, I have cereal. Now, yeah, maybe my cereal has changed over time. But and then for my morning snack, I have a yogurt. And I have Greek yogurt because it has more protein in it. And that's another thing. Protein is very important for your brain health. And for other things. But then for lunch, I have the same thing. Now, I'll have a sandwich of some kind. Now, the sandwich might change. But the sandwich, and then, afternoon snack, I'll have like some nuts or protein bar or something like that. And then my dinner is always the same. And then I might have like popcorn or something for an evening snack. So, but for me, that's probably a lot more detail than you needed. But for me,
we can post in the comments like, okay, guys, you want to?
I know, like I don't need to know all of this, but it helps me to not. It's something because when you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I had to come up with 5 or 4 things to take to work today. That can seem overwhelming, or even to think, okay, I got to come up with 6 different things that I'm going to eat today. It can feel really overwhelming, and so to me, it's just easier just to keep the same every day. And I don't know that that's a healthy, I really don't know that that's a healthy thing to do because you're not getting the variety, but I try to balance my proteins and my carbs and my fats. And so, I think it works for me anyways.
Well, I think it's good because it creates a habit and it does, as you say, it takes that decision out of it because sometimes you get a bit of decision fatigue because you go, oh my God, like what am I going to get when I go to the supermarket? One thing I'd say that I'm trying to do, and I don't do it every week, but I try and add one new thing, to my shopping cart. I don't really use the shopping cart. That's like such an American thing that I don't even say. I'm trying to cater to something I add to my trolley.
What do you call it?
We call it a shopping trolley.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I said cart. Sorry, cart's fine. But yeah, what I try and add to my shopping trolley is like one new item, right? Because I think it's good for, your microbiota. So like that's something that I was really interested in learning about and having a diversity of, different, I suppose, microbiomes, I suppose.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I don't know if that's right.
That sounds
Do you know much about that?
I know only a little bit, just about how much it influences your mental state. And that's probably why I was really interested in watching what I was eating. But trying to add something new to kind of create that diversity, whether it's like kimchi or like kefir or like just different interesting like fermented foods to try and help my microbiota. And I've started to get my daughter onto them as well.
Okay.
And I love it. Like, you know, this 4-year-old, and she'll be like, are we going to have kombucha today, Dan? I'm like, yes, we are going to have kombucha. I'm like, yes, you're such a well-grounded kid. You know, is that well-grounded or is that crazy? I don't know. But I just think it's so important to have some diversity in your diet. But to your point, I think it's also good to have a routine, because otherwise you can just go off and just probably eat crap, you know, and stuff like
Right.
that.
When I think it makes it, for me, it's just too overwhelming. Like, I don't want to think about that. I'm a very routine person. So it's like, I just know I have my routine. But like I say, for dinner, whatever. I eat whatever everybody's having. And so that's my little bit of diversity in my diet.
Yeah. Well,
But
just
yeah.
a quick question.
Yeah.
What happens when you're not meeting that routine? You know, like, what does it do for your brain and stuff?
Oh, well, so I'll give two answers. So for example, say I'm on vacation, and so I can't really meet that routine exactly, but I'll try to mirror it as best I can. And so then my body doesn't go crazy, because that's the other thing. Like, people might think that my body's so used to having those types of foods and whatever, that if I ate something different, that it would just throw my body off completely. And it doesn't. But if I go, like, because sometimes, usually on Saturdays is my day, I just will eat whatever I want and I don't think about it. And I do notice, though, then I don't feel good on Saturday. By the end of the day, Saturday, I'm not feeling good. And then even Sunday morning can be pretty rough, because I've done that to myself. And I've probably maybe not been out on the booze, but I've probably had a few beers on Saturday night too, so that doesn't help. So I definitely can tell a difference for sure in my alertness, and just for me too, what I really notice is how I manage my emotions. And I don't know if that's more of a female versus male thing, but like, if I'm not balancing all of my wellness activities very well, then I have a really hard time managing my emotions. And that's where I probably notice it the most.
Because I know you put a post up the other day about Eckhart Tolle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, I started re-listening to him the other day, and he was talking about how the body manifests emotion, and I didn't really know this, and how, like, it'll automatically create an emotion off the back of a thought, because it can't differentiate reality versus a thought, which makes sense, because sometimes I get these emotions and I'm like, oh, I don't want to have this one. This is really annoying, and it's because the thoughts triggered them. But I think that's really important too, is trying to keep your, like, emotions under control, because they can really just drag you down, you know, and things like that. It's probably important to be mindful of those things as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, especially, like I said, when you're trying to not settle anymore, and your emotions are going to be all over the place because you're in uncharted territory. And you're doing, most likely, you're doing something completely new to you, something you don't feel comfortable with. So your emotions are already going to be all over the place. So it's like, the more you can help yourself out, the better. But especially too, it's reminding me of, because you just talked about being out in nature and how good that is for your brain too. Well, not just to exercise, but even just to be out in nature while you're exercising.
I think it is really nice, because, like, yeah, you can just walk around, and I think nature has a lot to teach us, you know, like, just kind of looking at the birds and the trees and all that stuff, and it kind of grounds you a little bit, you know. Like, I think, well, you know, nature seems to be doing pretty well, you know, so like, surely, you know, surely I can kind of get in tune with that. And I swear, the longer I'm out in nature, you know, if I'm doing some of these big long hikes, like, I feel really, really good. Like, I just feel like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, not to get too spiritual about it. Not that there's anything wrong with spirituality, as we said in the Lydia episode.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, some days I'm walking through nature and I feel like nature's, like, looking after me. It's like hugging me in a way. I feel quite safe. And I think that's something we need, because, I don't know, just in the cities and stuff that we've built up, sometimes you just feel really, like, isolated. Even though you could, you know, be in a nice warm house and have people around you, I just feel like it's not as warm and as comforting as being out in nature, you know. It's
right.
something we probably need, I think.
Well, and do you think, so I've heard this and it makes and I've really, after I've heard it, I really can feel it, but that when you're in nature too, it is something that's so much bigger than you, that you kind of realize how insignificant you are, but in a good way, you know, where you're not taking yourself as seriously and you're not maybe worrying about so many insignificant things, because you realize that there's this huge world that's going on, regardless of whether you're around or not. This world is going on. And I think that kind of keeps you humble in a way, maybe.
I think so. And I think you look around and you think, nature doesn't need us at all, you know?
It probably would rather that we went away.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, go away, you know? But then it's also funny because when you look at nature, you look at how we try to control nature, how we set things up in a way, you know, like in roads or like the little paths that we have, you know, to maximize this view and stuff. It's just quite an interesting thing, you know? Like on the one hand, you've got exercise, which is good for you, but I just think it's like nature's a really good teacher just to kind of wake you up and be like, yeah, all the things that you think are a problem really aren't. The world's going to keep ticking over, you know, whether you're freaking out about what's going to happen next week or, you know, we just need to probably go out into nature a lot more often, I think.
Exactly. No, I agree. So I have to ask you though, what do you consider a long hike?
Like 3 hours.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'll be honest, like I think me and my partner these days, we haven't been on a big hike for a while, so we're really keen to get back into it, because even like some longer walks now, we're like, whew, like it's just a lot. But now that we can't leave Tasmania because the borders are closed, like, you know, an ample opportunity to like kind of do some walks, because there's some really awesome walks around here that we haven't done before. And some of them would be super challenging, but it's like, it's something to strive towards, I guess.
Yeah.
What would you consider a long hike?
I would consider that a long hike. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I was just curious. Like, are you talking about like a whole day or what?
Well, some people are like that, and I'm like, oh my God, how do you do that? That's insane.
I would love to. I actually, one day we're gonna get there, but I want to, like, I have in my mind, we're kind of getting off topic here, but I have my mind that I want to do like a super long hike. There's this trail in the United States that is called, now I can't remember what it's called. The Appalachian Trail, I think. Whatever. It's like, it takes like 6 months or something to do the whole thing. I don't know. It's crazy long. And so I have these visions in my head that someday I'm going to do that. That's not going to happen. But
it could.
I don't think so.
Like that, look, 6 months, like that's a long time, because I mean we've got something here. We've got the overland track. I think the overland track's like 7 days. Maybe don't quote me on that. But yeah, like I want to do that one day, but I think it's a different type of experience, isn't it? Like you need to be prepared for it. Whereas, you know, you think if you're out for 2 or 3 hours, like, okay, maybe you'll run out of water or something, but you'll be okay. Whereas like 7 days or 6 months, like, you know, if you're not prepared, you might die. So it's a big thing. Yeah.
So anyways, this is kind of my grand idea that I think I want to do, but I don't think that's really what I want to do. But I would love to do like a few days, or I mean even like a week or something. I just think it would be awesome just to be completely unconnected for a week.
Well, you know, I listened to this podcast a while ago by a lady called Florence Williams, and she talks about the 3-day effect.
Okay.
And she tests this theory, which is, you know, being out in nature for 3 days, you know, minimum of 3 days, it like just completely recenters you. It's good for your brain. It's good for your body. And she tests it. She gets these like neurobiologists, whatever, you know. I know I'm kind of working in medical research now, but I still don't know what these terms mean.
Yeah, you know, neuroscientists.
Neuroscientists to come out and like test their brains like on day 1 and test it at day 3. And it does do a lot of good things for your brain. Like it helps you with your retention of things, your creativity, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd love to test that theory, like go camping for 3 days and see when I get back, like, am I clear at riding or whatever? Like,
Right.
so, yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to know what causes that. Like, is it just because you're disconnected from all the distractions that we have, or is it just because of the location that you're in, or is it just because you're eating different things? Like, it'd be interesting to know what really causes that change. But
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I think we are just designed to be out in nature.
well, true. That's
I
true.
think that's
Yeah.
probably why we start to go a little bit crazy, and especially with these things,
Yeah.
like technology, as great as it is,
Right.
we wouldn't be doing this without technology, but it's so damaging to us, I think, the amount of time we consume on our phones and on our computers and all that stuff.
Right. Well, and even just sitting, it's like, we weren't meant to sit for this
No.
long as we're both sitting here. But, as much as we sit in a day, our bodies were meant to be up and moving around. And
I read an interesting piece of research the other day, which is talking about how we've succeeded in increasing our life expectancy.
Mm-hmm.
But what we've done as a result is we've made a lot of really miserable people.
Okay.
Because like we haven't really looked at how to promote like the best, frame of mind. We've got people living longer than ever, but more and more people committing suicide. I shouldn't say committing suicide, dying by suicide, sorry. More and more people.
I know, I just saw something about that today.
Yeah.
And not say committing. Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that. I work in mental health. I shouldn't be saying that. But more and more people with mental health illness. So it's like, all right, it's great. We've got all these additional years up our sleeve, but what's the point of all these additional years if we're not loving life and enjoying what we do? So that's the big challenge for us next, I think, is to break those things. Working long hours and not eating well and not getting out of nature, not connecting with people, not having purpose. And I think that's what this podcast is hopefully trying to communicate to people, is have meaning, have good relationships, look after your health, stop thinking, because what society's telling us right now is wrong. I don't care what anyone says, it's completely wrong. And if we keep going down that track, those extra years we've got will be nothing but a waste, really detrimental to us, I think.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Because if you're alive, but you're not really able to live your life, you have no quality of life left. What's the point? To me. Exactly. And that's really a lot of what drives me too, to try to stay on top. And I'm not perfect. I mean, my exercise routine is not perfect. My diet is not perfect, but I do consciously work toward it every day and try not to give myself too many excuses to get away from it. Yeah. But another thing I'm interested to know though, and we haven't touched on yet, is sleep. So how are your sleep habits?
Probably not good.
I wondered. Well, and do you think, is that new because you have a lot going on, or have you always had bad sleep habits?
I've always I've probably always had bad sleep habits, being on my phone before I go to bed, or just doing all the activities that you shouldn't be doing, just really getting my brain hyped up. Mm-hmm. Like the other night, like I was laying there at 3 a.m. and my brain was just like buzzing with 100 million thoughts. And I was like, no, please just give me a break. Like I'm sick of thinking. But it's probably because I've been on my phone, I've been watching TV, I've been reading something that's like stimulating to your brain.
Sure.
It's really tricky. Are you good with your sleep?
I will say no, but I will say that I'm a lot better than I used to be. So I've never been one to sleep through the night. Like even as a kid, I never slept through the night. And I still don't. It's very rare for me to sleep through the night, but I have gotten a lot better, and mainly because I think one thing I do is I always try to do the exact same thing before I go to bed. And I think that's maybe an easy habit that people could implement, is just do the exact same thing, like the half an hour before you go to bed if you can, because that kind of sets your brain into, like, your brain knows, okay, it's time to go to bed, or it's time to go to sleep. Like, you're kind of setting yourself up to know, your body to know that, okay, we're going to sleep next.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing I've done. Besides, I do stay off my phone, although every once in a while, and it's so stupid because I know better. Like, so I usually go to bed by 11, 11. So I try to say, okay, after 9 o'clock, I'm not gonna be on my phone, because I don't need to be communicating with anybody after 9 o'clock anyway. But then, and I set it aside and I say I'm gonna do it. But then sure enough, every once in a while, for some reason, I'm just like, ooh, I just really wonder if anybody sent me a message or something. And I'm like, why do I even care?
So
but I
true,
still look at it anyway. So it's that stupid addictive phone that we were talking about. But but no, it is better. And so I think, like you said, that's a huge thing, is just giving up your phone or knowing when to turn it off. That alone is a huge thing.
So hard though. It's like, I don't know. It is an
I don't know
addictive
why it's
thing.
hard, but it is for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it is just knowing that it's, it could be in the next room on the charger or something, in your pocket, sitting on your lap. And it is just that, your brain like pops up and goes, I wonder if there's any notifications there. I wonder if anyone's liked my latest post, or,
Right.
has somebody written back to my message on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
That's my worst one. And then I'm like, yeah. And without even thinking or challenging that, I normally will just go, oh, hold on, I'll just have a quick look. And then I'm
Right.
on there and then I'm scrolling. But as you say, it doesn't actually change anything. Whether I check my messages and respond to it then and there, or whether I do it like tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Like, the
No,
person's
I know.
but we've conditioned ourselves, and it's not just our fault. I think, it is definitely technology giants kind of, figuring out how can we make this as addictive as possible for people.
Well, of course, right.
But we've got to figure out some self-control, and we probably just go, yeah, I could deal with that right now, but maybe later.
Right. I know. So every day I try that one to just put it away, not think about it again, but every day's a new day. So today I'll try it again and we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I guess that's a huge point too. Now that I say that, is I feel like a lot of times we have a bad day, like you get off your diet, exercise plan, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you just give up. And it's like, well, just because you have one day isn't a reason to throw in the towel, because we're all going to have those days where something comes up or whatever happens, or we talk ourselves out of it or whatever. But, you just got to start out the next day and just do what you're supposed to do the next day.
Yeah.
And that's really all there is to it. And I mean, it's so simple. It's not easy. I'm not trying to say it's easy, but it really is that simple.
Yeah. So almost like we need to create this space for ourselves to say, like, sometimes we're going to get it wrong. And if we do, it's okay. We don't need to like beat ourselves up and just say, right, I'm not even going to bother with this anymore. It's like, all right, today was not a great success. Try and figure out why, and then do it again tomorrow. Like, just keep at it like that. Or
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think you made a good point too, is not to beat yourself up over it, because what good is that going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, we all do it. I do with that. I'm not not saying you're trying to say that I don't do that, because I do, but what good does it do? It doesn't do any good. So what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, if you can work on not beating yourself up over it and just figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what's your exercise routine normally?
Well, it's changed a bit. Like I said, it has changed over the years, but I can't do, for health reasons I won't get into, I can't do the exercises that I like to do right now. But what I really love is, it's this couple, and their YouTube channel is called HasFit. And obviously we're not getting paid to promote them or anything, put that out there. But I highly recommend them for a few reasons. But my favorite exercise to do right now is the high intensity interval training, or HIIT. workouts. And there's specific ones that are called Tabata, which is where you do like 20 seconds of exercise, 10 seconds of rest, 20 seconds of exercise, and you can go back to back like that. And anyways, so those are my favorite. But the reason I really love HasFit is because they have like so many different, any kind of exercise you can think of, they have it on their site or on their YouTube channel. And they give you options. Like typically the wife will do the easier version of the exercise and the husband does a harder version. But they give you all kinds of options. Like, okay, if this doesn't work for you, do this instead. And they really focus on you customizing the workout so that it works for you and your fitness level and what you can do at the time.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that was a long answer to your question, but I think
that's really good.
I think the point is that you want to, like I just ended that answer with, is find something that works for you and find something that you can tailor to yourself. And it's not just like so strict, like you have to do these exercises on these days and for this amount of time, because that's just so unrealistic to think you're going to be able to stick with something like that. So if you can find something, yeah. So I've definitely, if someone's looking, go find HasFit. They're great. And I've been liking yoga a lot lately. Yoga's been a newer thing for me, but I've really been enjoying that. And it's a lot harder than I thought it was. And we talked with Lydia about that, but.
So what, like, are you just doing online classes or are you watching online videos for yoga?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's one in particular I watch, Yoga with Adrienne is the one that I do. And again, I don't know, I think yoga in itself is more supposed to be a personal experience and you kind of tailor it to yourself, but she's just again, she gives you many options of things to do, and she's just very down to earth and goofy, and I don't know. She always has her dog in the background, and I don't know. She just seems like she's not intimidating. You know, you just feel very comfortable, even though you're not face to face with her, but she just makes you feel comfortable in doing something maybe you're not comfortable with. So that's what I appreciate about her. But
you know what I like about both those things, you know, with the HasFit and the yoga instructor, like the common thing there is they're not intimidating people.
No.
They make it customizable for everyone, because that is the truth. Is there's so many like exercise regimes or yoga programs or whatever that are like, you need to be the most super amazing person in the world and do this, and if you can't hit this standard, you're no good. Yeah. And then you just give up because you just feel like crap. So, and I think Lydia said that too, right? Which was just try what works for you.
Yeah, and keep experimenting and Yeah.
I think that's a really important message.
Well, and even to add on to that too is a lot of these workout videos, because I've done other videos in the past, but you know, usually the instructor on the video is usually like a super fit person that's like,
Sorry, something like fell on my head. Sorry about that.
But they're usually like the super fit person who is like scantily clothed, and then there's all these super fit people behind them. And it's just so unrealistic, and it's like probably cut, like they probably didn't even actually do the whole workout, like they probably, you know what I mean, like it was clipped together. And so that's what I really appreciate about HasFit or whoever else. I mean, they're real people. And even though like Coach Kozak is the guy's name, I've seen him with his shirt off, he is like super in shape, but you would never know it. I mean, he's just, on the video, he's just a normal guy. He doesn't take his shirt off on the videos. So, I mean, he's just a normal guy, and he doesn't try to act like, you know, like you need to look like him or, you know, or make you feel like that's what you need to look like. And so, yeah, that helps a lot.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's, a really good point, because I think you can be quite easily turned off by that stuff. It's the same as when you go to the gym, you know? I can remember these times you'd have these people come in, like these girls in their active wear, and then their boyfriends would come in, and they were just like so ripped and defined and stuff. And, you know, it was quite funny because half the time they would just walk around the gym, And I was kind of like, I feel like going, are you actually work out today, or are you just totally here for people to check you out? And you would check them out, which is distracting as well to your gym routine. You're kind of like, no, I don't need to see you like, do what you're doing right now.
Like, I need to get out of here.
Exactly. But, you know, like, but then also you like, it can be a little bit confronting because, like, you know, here I am on the treadmill or something, like wheezing and like sweating and looking really gross. You know, whereas these other people, I feel like, you know, they've never sweat in their lives, you know, and they don't run out of breath or energy. Like they're, you know, these superhuman, you know, so just do it in a setting that makes you comfortable and work your way up to being with the, you know, people who, you know, just go to the gym just to look good, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think that's maybe as we're getting long on time here. So as we kind of wrap it up here, maybe that's our message is that find what works for you.
Yeah.
And what works for your lifestyle and something that's going to be sustainable. Because anytime, and that's what we really need, because anytime you try like a fad diet or a fad workout routine or whatever, you know, you're not going to stick with it. There's no way. It's just not going to happen long term. Short term, you might get some great short term results, but you know, you're not going to stick with it long term. And, you know, obviously that's what we want. It's something that we're going to be able to stick with long term.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah. So what are your concluding thoughts about wellness?
Well, I just think don't put pressure on yourself. So I think just think of wellness as like you know, those 3 buckets I mentioned. So vitality, contribution, and connection.
Yeah, that's huge.
Almost have like a toolkit. So, you know, to Amanda's point earlier, your life will change. You're not going to be able to always do the exact same thing that you did before, but that's okay. Just have a bunch of things that you could draw upon at the appropriate time. If you have a rough day where you don't meet all your goals, you know, you have a bad diet or you don't go for a walk or you don't do yoga or whatever it is, that's okay. Just realize that you can just try again tomorrow. So overall, I think it's just customize wellness to what works for you. Don't worry about what other people say. Don't worry if you have a day that doesn't work out, because otherwise you'll kind of create a paradox in a way. You won't be well because you're worrying about being well. You know, so
no, exactly right. Yes. Agreed. All right.
So, I suppose we'll go to the non-optional questions.
Yeah, we can do that. So I have 3 of them here. So usually if you've watched the show or heard the show before, we usually ask non-optional questions of our guests if we have a guest, but if we don't have a guest, then we ask them of the audience. So just some things to take away from the episode and think about when you leave the episode here today. So the first question to think about is, what does wellness mean to you? The second question to think about is, what do you have to gain from focusing on your wellness, or what's your why for wanting to be well? And then third, what's one action that you can take tomorrow to start a new wellness routine? And again, I would say just keep it to one action to start with, get some momentum going, and go from there. And there's my cat.
I love it. Perfect timing. Yeah.
That's Lainey.
Your cat looks really well. Like
she's well. She's been in my videos before. It's not her first appearance. She likes to hop up there. I didn't even know she was down here, but there we go. So on
That's
that
such
note,
a good place to end on, right? I love that.
I know. So with that being said, here she comes again. She's just gonna be back there. Hello. She's making her debut. Unsettling is not an option. Okay, so anyways, to wrap it up, I would just put in one more plug to check us out on our YouTube channel and to check us out on our podcast is on Podbean, Spotify, and Amazon Music now. And as Adam said too, we do have an email that you can reach us at, which is cheerstonotsettling@gmail.com. Of course, we would love it if you could give us just $1 to help us, help us get some equipment and get Adam some lighting over there or something. And maybe get me a door so that the cat doesn't show up in the background. But no.
You wouldn't see any animals that I've got here.
But no, we would definitely appreciate anything that you would be so willing to give. And on that note, I think we will say cheers to not settling.
Cheers to not settling.
All right, take care.
Bye.